I have Peter Mail, who is my, or Professional Advantages, Business Intelligence Reporting Guru. He will be going through today's product component. Peter, make sure everyone knows you're alive here.
Hi, everybody.
I also have someone who's helping me with the questions and administration of the webinar as we go through this. Sarah. Sarah, can you say hello?
Hi, everyone.
Okay, look, we're going to try and stick to the 30 minutes today, and I'm going to go through the agenda, trying to make this as interactive as possible. So the first, just to go through the agenda so that we know what we're talking about here. Obviously, we're all here to understand the starter pack. What is it? What's included in it? I think that's a nice start, a nice refresher. Also a little bit about the Infor BI technology that we are using to get this starter pack for our SunSystems customers. Product demonstration, I'm sure that's what everyone really wants to see. We're going to try and get to that as quick as we can. And I think the all-important question is the implementation and the how much, which I'm sure a lot of people on this call would also like to know. So going through it, just a bit of admin. If you know how to, if you've been on a webinar before, you should notice that on the icon, wherever you've dragged your webinar icon to, you should be able to see a little text box on the bottom that allows you to put questions in. Sarah will be facilitating those as we go through. By all means, I might not answer it straight away, but my objective is to make sure that I answer them by the end of this session, or at a bare minimum, after the session, I will send an email out to all attendees to answer those questions. So please feel free to interact that way, because to my understanding, the voice and the other pieces will be off at this stage. We're actually going to record this session as well, so if someone does tap you on the shoulder while you're at your desk and you need to run off, understand that that always happens during these things, and we'll send out that link as well. In addition, if you're staying towards the end, we will send you a link to a little bit more information about what is actually included in the starter pack so that you can talk about it amongst your peers. So what is the starter pack? Professional Advantage, we've been obviously implementing SunSystems for forever, 25 plus years, and our main objective that we've noticed with the Infor Business Intelligence offering was that the SunSystems clients felt that it was a bit heavy lifting to try and get started quickly. So PA have developed some templates that help with that implementation so that we can get you up and running in about 10 to 12 days. And Peter will show you the components that will be in those kind of things. So before I go on to the next slide, we're just going to test a little bit of a survey because it helps me to understand where everyone is at as far as what you believe you understand about Infor BI, and if I need to go through a bit more detail. So I'm just going to pop up a survey question, and just wondering if everyone can just try and spend the 60 seconds, 30 seconds to just tick one of those options as far as how do you perceive your current knowledge of the Infor BI. If this is your first time, that's fine, of course, I understand that, and there's other people that have experts and use it every day. So it'd just be nice if everyone can just go in there and answer that question for us very quickly. Okay, do we need to finish that poll off now? Okay, so do we get the results of that? Okay, so looking at those results, no one's a super user, so that's good. Peter, I should have got you to answer that question. There should have been at least 1% in there. We've got a few people at the medium and the low, and there are some people that are brand new to this. So that's quite a broad percentage of what we have got in the room. That helps me. Thank you very much for answering that poll. I've got 2 more polls that will come out as we get through it. So let's talk about the features of what's in Infor BI. Some of the classic features that we've got in the starter pack is that to get you up and running, the reason why we can do it in a fast way is that we link to your current chart of account analysis dimensions and coding conventions that you've got in your SunSystems ledger today. That allows all of the reports to look across all of your dimensions, so your classic cost center locations, and all of our templates work in accordance with that mapping and logic. We've also put in there some data wizards. Now, what are the benefits of data wizards? Well, that allows us to get information, actuals out of Sun to put into the model so that we can actually use it to budget and forecast and the rest. And obviously the reference data, your chart of accounts, all of those labels and the like are also a part of our data wizard that we've got in the starter pack. Now, because you've got those two things, forecasting is a natural byproduct of that with our data wizards. We're able to do the rolling forecasting logic, quarterly forecast and the like, and keep that going in the same area, same technology. And of course, we can do P&L management reporting, and that's an interesting thing because I find that with the title of Infor BI or Infor Business Intelligence, some people forget that the application is actually very robust and achievable in the reporting, balance sheet, management reporting kind of style. So keep a memory of that one. The other features as well is that if you're looking at the way in which we go through, I suppose, the starter pack, we have designed it for the budget entry at the P&L balance sheet at the intersection of chart of account cross-sections with your dimensions. Now, Peter will show you how that looks on screen if that explanation is a bit hard to understand, but the idea is that that's pretty much the baseline for most budgeting objectives with most of our clients. And then once you get familiar with the product, you might change that logic accordingly as a phase 2 or next things. But we find that starting at that level is a very common ground for most people. Also with that, you're allowed to have the dashboards and interact with the solution. Once again, to be able to analyse the budget that you've done and the reporting, all the same framework, you're using the features of the system to be able to analyse so that as people are building up the budget, they actually see the cause and effect in a graphical way in the dashboards. Now, what's new, and this I don't want to inundate that with us today, is Evolve. That is for people that are familiar with Q&A or Vision data links into Sun. Infor have released that capability inside of the Infor BI toolset, so we can connect quickly to the SunSystems ledger data in a familiar way, which we've done it for previously. And we are planning on following up on that Evolve piece as well. But pretty much all SunSystems clients are able to grab all of these features up and running quite quickly, which leads me on to my next poll question. Where I'm going to ask Sarah to just put up the question here. And I just wanted to check, what is people's current reporting tool? Sometimes I assume a lot that it is Excel, but please just give yourself 20, 30 seconds to just look at that question there, give us a feel for how that works. And I'm seeing that kind of build up, and it does look like that we've got a 50% kind of plus in the Q&A sort of logic. Can I give those results back to the... Oh, wow, there you go. So we've got 57% of the Q&A. Some people still using Vision at the 7% and Excel. So there is a large component there of, I suppose, business benefit in going into Infor BI, because I know that the Q&A doesn't naturally write back and let you consolidate instantly. It relies a bit of pushing back and forth to Sun, and if you go into the Infor BI, you will see that instantly happening. So I think that a lot of people on this call should seriously consider those benefits with the starter pack. Why use it? Okay. I think the main reason why I like people to use it, this is I suppose, an evolution for most people when they need to get data out of SunSystems. We've always loved the Q&A and Vision tools and Excel. That was evident from that last poll and how everyone responded. But having one tool that can answer and be a part of the original budget development and collaboration and consolidation, and using the same tool to be your reporting and analysis during the year, the benefits I think are pretty obvious. Using the one tool for multiple outcomes, it's just not at a speed level, but it's at a transparency level. You're really getting to that single source of truth, and it really opens your doors to explore, I suppose, other ways in which that data or that information is working, obviously to help everyone in your organisation to make better decisions, because that's what it's about at the end of the day. So if we can reduce that time from budget to reporting and reporting to budget, and have that same user interface that people are familiar with, you will see a lot of benefit in that broad uptake. So there's three areas that the one tool offers you. So I can do business intelligence, so I can analyse and interact with data. I can do the corporate performance management. Now that label typically looks at planning, budgeting and forecasting, and the reporting is what you'd expect, your P&L, balance sheet and the like. So yes, as I said, main benefit of getting us all into that single source of truth with SunSystems. Now the user interface of choice. Leading on to my next part, I've got one more slide and I'll be handing over to Peter. But really, with everyone from finance to operations and management and everyone in between, everyone has their tool or user interface of choice for various reasons. Some people just need high-level information. Some people just need instant information. Some people are mobile warriors and just need that high-level stuff. And some people need the detail. Hence why there are these user interfaces available to you. So your typical client that Peter's going to go through today, there are mobile applications inside of the App Store. You can actually download and have a practice of this at your own disposal. That's easy. Web, everyone loves getting onto the web. Word and PowerPoint, they're normally for your presentation kind of layer, because you might want to put some context into the report, not just have it sitting with financial numbers on their own. And of course, the marvellous Excel always still needs to be floating around. Okay, I've got just a quick question that I'd like to ask everyone, and this is my last question that I'm sending out to you, but the poll question is, how do people receive the reports? Now, I asked this question on the user interface page because that helps me understand the kind of what the organisation is demanding of the finance team in regards to reporting. Are we emailing? Are we distributing? What is it that we're trying to do? Because there's obviously a lot of benefits in having that application accessible to a lot of users and the like. So, wow, that's a little bit surprising to me. The old email is still kicking along as far as how we're distributing reports. Now, my assumption or my interpretation of emailing as a kind of a challenge statement to people that are still using emailing is that obviously you are not letting people interact with the data. So you are giving them boxed information. Now that might be great for users if you want to tick that box called month-end reporting, but if you want to give people a decision platform to be able to make decisions on the expenses during the month instead of just at the end of the month, I would challenge that email is largely inefficient. Okay? There's always a place for it, but just challenge yourself on why you really are emailing and not giving real-time access to people. Okay, so Peter, I'm going to hand over to Peter. We're going to go through the product demonstration, and he's going to take about 15-20 minutes, and then we'll come back and finish up with the questions that have been coming up through the webinar, and also talk about implementation and how we get that going. Over to you, Peter.
Oh, thank you very much, Mark. So maybe the first question is just on navigation. So just quickly, there's two ways of navigating. One is just through a reporting structure like this, from the drop down from the top there. And the other one is we have on the home page. So I'll just go through some of the configuration settings first. The very first one will be the ledger settings. So what this report shows is allows us to define actually what ledger analysis dimensions are shown. So in this case, I have 3 shown for the profit and loss, which are company, cost center, line of business, and this is whatever these descriptions are will be applicable to your own SunSystems implementation. And for balance sheet, I only showing company. So we'll see that a bit later. So I'll just jump back now and now look at how we map accounts. So we have a number of mappings, so we can map all the 10 ledger analysis dimensions and also the account mapping. So let's go into account mapping and describe how that works. So here we have a EBITDA kind of structure, and we're mapping in this case, we're using the Sun's account analysis dimension and mapping them in. There could be account ranges, depends on how best works in your situation. So here is a situation where we can very quickly and easily map in these account analysis codes. So let's now go and look at a profit and loss statement. So just jump in there, and what we see here is on the top here we have a number of filters. So only the 3 that I've selected, which were company, cost center, line of business, is shown. So if I selected others, they would be shown instead. So on the drop down on the filters, you can actually select the different versions. So it could be actuals, budget, forecast, etc. Or indeed, I could actually select something like one of my analysis dimensions. So here I've got a bit of a hierarchy happening here. So again, this hierarchy is configured to what makes sense here. So I can see here that I can actually select a breakdown, across our countries and Australia and New Zealand. So these hierarchies are built within the Infor BI tool. So I'll just cancel out of that. So you can also just hide the filters, so they give you a bit more space on the screen. So that, it's quite nice to just be able to hide the filters. Also, you can export to Excel. So it's really just clicking on the Excel export button. It opens up from the browser. Just click it. And they've got our report now in Excel. Jumping back now, you can expand on the accounts, so you can see the different accounts. So you can just easily expand and collapse the accounts. And also you can drill down into actuals. So I'm going to drill down on the advertising group here and actually see what makes up the transactions in the advertising group. So we can see the actual source transactions now, the journals coming out of SunSystems making up the results. Next report, there are several reports that come in within the starter pack. One of them is just called the trend analysis by Tico. So what we have here is the ability to actually look at trend analysis across your different analysis codes. So you can drag and drop. So I'm just going to drag and drop the company analysis dimension across. You can see the breakdown, and you can also select your different versions. It could be actual versus budget, or year on year. So very easy and quickly you can analyze your dimensions. So it's quite a nice feature there. The next thing I'll show you is dashboards. So I'll show you now a completed or sample dashboard. Now with dashboards, they are what you would like them to be. This is just a sample dashboard. So these are something that you would actually create yourself, and I'll show you that next. So this is something what a dashboard may look like. So you may look at, it's quite interactive as well. You can change it, actuals, budget, maybe look at a different product line, and you can see that it changes as you select it. What I'll show you now is actually how you would build a dashboard yourself through what we call self-service. So here I'm going to start a new dashboard. And what we have to do now is drag and drop the widgets that we want. So what I will do is select the actual versus budgets one. That'll be my first one. And just drag and drop that onto the dashboard. And it'll be a combination one. It just takes me through with it now. I'm going to select for the value type our version. You can see now I can select the actual versus budget, or could be forecast version. And I'll select next. I can resize this. I can change these filters up the top here, like before. I'm going to drill down on years. So I'm going to look at the specific year. I'm going to drill down on 2014 and look at months, the months within 2014 instead of quarters. I'll look at months. Again, I'll just go next. I can give it a title. And you can see very quickly and easily I've created a widget onto my dashboard. I can resize that. And I'll just do one more dashboard widget just to see a different kind. So this will be a trend one. Just drag and drop the trend one onto it. Do a multi-series. I will choose profit as my data row, time as my categories. Go next. Just resize that a little bit. Just select the elements. So I'll select profit. I'll select so revenue, cost of sales, and maybe production costs. Again, I'll drill down on the specific year. And again, I'll choose months. And just go, that's the data I want, so I can just go next. I won't give a title this time, let's go next. And you can see now I have a trend analysis. I can just resize that. And that's it. I can save this dashboard and other people then can see it. So that's dashboard. So next I'll go into and look at the budgeting now. So I'll just jump back into the home page. And I'll first go into version control. So what we have here is ability to open and close a budget version. So this allows whether users can perform data entry or not. So here I have both my budget and forecast open. I can close my budget if I want, but I can reopen it. You can see here my Q1 forecast. July, August, and September are closed for entry. So they will be filled with year-to-date actuals. I'll just change it back to 2015. The other thing I can do is, let's go back to the home page, is let's look at bids, general settings. So I can, for a budget or forecast, I can actually make it a very high-level budget or very high-level forecast. So this allows me to maybe, for example, maybe it's high-level forecast and I want to be able to enter against all cost centers, meaning I don't want to have to select individual cost centers. Maybe it's high-level and I can very easily just select that version to be capable of entering against all cost centers. So that gives you very, very much a lot of control over your versions. I'll now go into profit and loss entry. Choose my 2016 budget. So I have a blank budget at the moment. What I have is two comparison columns. So I'm looking at 2013-14 actuals and 2014-15 actuals. You can select these as my budget for 2014-15. What I'm going to do is change my increase factor to 3%. And I will copy my budget from my 214-15 budget into 215-16, just to revenue. So let's click on this one button. And that's now just uplifted my 214-15 budget into the next year by 3%. And I might do for expenses 2%, because expenses are not going to go up as much as my revenue. So just click on expenses copy, and now I've now copied for all my cost centers, companies, lines of businesses. I have copied my 14-15 budget into 15-16. So I can now make changes. So I can enter in, say, for advertising, I might decide to enter in 120,000. Sorry, let me just redo that. So that's across the whole year. So that's now put that value 120,000 and it's splashed across all the different months. Well, I might want to change how that's seasonalized. And we have an option here. We can have these allocations can be created by yourself. So we have some examples here. So in this case, I have looking at one that's based on first quarter. So I have the previous amount and then the new amount. So here, that's the first quarter one. I'm just going to change it to even. So this will actually make it even across all the months. Now you can see now $10,000 even across all the months. You can then actually, if you decide, you can change individual amounts. So I'm just going to change this July figure. And you can also put some comments. So you can put whatever comments you like. And really, that's it.
Excellent, Peter. Thank you very much for that. Now, just to summarise, following the bouncing ball, because I believe that there was a lot of stuff that you actually ended up doing just there, but in light of the fact that we're at our at the end of our session here, I did want to try and just field some of these questions. Just any version of SunSystems. Okay, so the first question I've got here is about what version can we go into with Sun and the starter pack? Pretty much any version. Of course, it relies on the SQL and the Microsoft environment is probably the trigger, not necessarily the Sun version. So that's no problem in regards to that. The other question I've got I'm going to pass this over to Peter, is what's the type of skill level that you think people need to manage the starter pack or the like?
Yeah, there's very little skill level. It's very simple to use. There's actually very little administration. So a lot of our clients do choose to do report writing training, so that's a specific course we can run for those who wish to actually then further develop reports to extend the solution. Cool.
And one other question, I think, well, I might go just a couple of minutes over. There was another one here about other data. Of course, we're focusing largely on the SunSystems data, but what about other data sources?
Yeah, so we can, it's a BI tool, meaning that we can actually pull in data from really any data source you like. It's SQL Server databases, Oracle databases, spreadsheets, and the like. And yeah, it's very much, it's comes really nice solution as we start bringing data from other data sources, and you see this one story, one reporting tool that looks over everything.
Okay. There's a couple of questions. We're going to try and get through these. They're coming thick and fast now at the end. But security and access, I suppose that's an interesting kind of question. How do you see the security? I mean, a lot of people on the call are probably familiar with how Sun data access groups and the like kind of work. How do we manage that in Infor Starter Pack?
So you can have very granular security. So we have security over reports, so what reports people can see. So some people may not even see the data entry reports, or maybe you know, see some reports, integration reports are typically restricted. it's all configurable. The other sort of security is, we call it dimension security. So that's really things like cost centers. So very commonly, people would restrict the cost centers people have access to.
That's excellent. Look, I don't, there are a few other questions, and as promised, I will email some answers back at that level. But just as I close off, probably the most important thing, how long does it take us to implement? Well, we're estimating between 10 and 12 days, which I think is quite fantastic for the quality and the depth of what you've seen from Peter's presentation today. The way in which we get this going is that we have our senior business intelligence team. Peter is one of those. Potentially gives you a 2-hour kind of initial engagement, and in that it's a combination of having that conversation just to check your environments and a couple of things like that, and clarify what we're actually delivering with the starter pack, and any kind of, I suppose, sometimes when people are in these conversations, you might have a little wish list, and then we can work and talk through how we could do that wish list as well. Now, of course, your inside account managers will be in touch, or if you wanted to be proactive and be in touch with them, that's no problem at all, and they can go through a bit more detail. So thank you all for attending. I hope that was informative for you all, and looking forward for implementations of the Infor Starter Pack from Professional Advantage. Thank you all again.